You said some. That was like a tsunami of people. This is great.
Yeah, they keep coming, which is good.
Mhm. We'll let people keep joining for just another moment, then we'll get started. See lots of connecting to audio.
Jake, if you would like, I can just, because we've got a lot of folks to get through introductions, I can just introduce all of our staff really quickly. And that'll help save some time before we get started.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds good. I'm just thinking with the Hollywood squares and things moving around, I might mess that up. But
Okay.
yeah, please. Well, I think most are in. I don't see anybody connecting to auto. Well, no, one, two. We'll give it just another second or so here. And welcome everybody to Arizona Forward's Water Committee. I'm Jake Lenderking, one of the co-chairs. Diet is not here. She had a big all-day meeting at CAP, so we're very excited what she's been working on. She'll get to talk more about that in a future meeting. But really quick, we'll do introductions. Today we're gonna have Dave White speaking. I'll introduce him after introductions. And to facilitate that and help it go a little bit quicker, we'll go really quick, just name, rank, serial number, and we'll start with Lori and her team.
Yeah, I'm Lori Singleton, President and CEO for Arizona Forward. I'll introduce our team real quickly. We have Lindsay Thornton, our intern, Nanda Micheletti, who is our membership director, Macy Lantrip, who is our communications specialist, and Bella is our operations specialist. So that's us and our team.
Great. I'm going to keep up the pace and I'm going to butcher some names, so please forgive me. Is it Brigitte?
Hi, Jake. This is Bridget Bavasset representing U-Haul.
Thank you, Bridget. Susan?
Susan Craig, ASU Impact Water Arizona.
Eric Larson?
Had to race the mute button. Eric Larson with Badger Meter. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Eric. Vicky?
Hi, I'm Vicki Preston with Desert Foothills Land Trust.
Welcome. Vivian?
Vivian Hobbins from ASDU, Arizona Water Innovation Initiative.
Thanks for joining. Heather?
I lead the Land Advisors Conservation Division.
Welcome. Scott?
Hey, good morning.
Scott, go ahead.
Sorry, hey, I'm Scott Newell with Honeywell.
And Scott Miller?
Hey, Jake, and Scott Miller with APS.
Welcome, Scotts. Michelle?
Hello, Michelle Oldfield with ASU Impact Water Arizona.
Right, thanks for joining, Michelle. Craig?
Craig Avani with the Arizona Sonora Desert Museum.
Awesome, thanks for joining. Tyler Smith?
Hi, Tyler Smith with HDR. Thank you.
Diana Durant, I'm going to say it.
Hi, I got it. Thanks for trying. It's Dayanara. I'm with Impact Water Arizona.
Awesome. Thanks, Dayanara. Love your name. Lauren.
Hi, I'm Lauren Bataska. I work for Arizona State University at the Global Institute of Sustainability and Innovation.
Thanks for joining. Jim?
Hi, I'm Jim Sulak from Architecton.
Awesome. John Kane?
Hi, John Kane from Architecton. Nice to meet you.
Right. Thanks for joining, guys. Susanna?
Hi, my name is Susanna Montgomery. I'm also with Architecton.
Awesome. Kelly?
Hi, Kelly Kennedy. I'm a water and natural resource attorney at Culp & Kelly.
Thanks for joining. Anthony?
Hey, I'm Anthony Dudley. I'm the Deputy Water Services Director for the City of Goodyear.
Welcome, Anthony. Thanks for joining. And I've almost lost my place. Nope, there we go. Tom Brown.
Tom Brown, also with Architecton.
Welcome. Eric? Eric Larson.
my name is on there twice, so thanks for
Hey.
giving me that opportunity.
There you go. You're doubly awesome. Well, Badger's big, so how about Adeline?
Hi, my name's Adeline Hegde. I'm with Impact Water Arizona.
Welcome. Amy?
Hey, my name is Amy Flores. I'm with ASU's Sustainability Teachers Academies.
Welcome, Amy. Michael?
Hi, Michael Huang with Microsoft.
Thanks for joining. And we moved around a little bit. Melissa?
Hi, I'm Melissa. Hi, I'm Melissa with Terracon.
Thanks for joining. Alana?
Hi, everyone. Alana Langdon. I'm the Director of Government Relations and Community Engagement with Fortescue. We're an integrated green technology, energy, and metals company. Thank you.
Very cool. Thanks for joining. And Ray Diaz.
Good morning, Ray Diaz, City of Goodyear, Water Resources Manager.
Welcome. Thanks for joining, Ray. Well, I think I got through everybody, but did I miss anybody that wants to jump up and say hi? Well, thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for going through that exercise. It kept me on my toes, and I'm learning more about names. So thanks for your grace to do that. Today we have a really great speaker, and I didn't let him introduce himself. Dave White. He's got a really big bio, and just going to give you a short piece. He's done so much in water and sustainability for so long, but I just want to hit the short bio and maybe something that's a little more of interest to us. You know, he has been serving as the principal investigator for the Arizona Water Innovation Initiative. And in 2021, he was selected by the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy as chapter lead author for the Southwest region for the 5th U.S. National Climate Assessment. So he's got some big work up and coming. But, you know, looking back a little bit, Dave, he joined ASU in 2001, and he helped lead their evolution into one of the world's largest leading universities for global impact. He serves as their Associate Vice President for Research Advancement and Director of the Global Institute of Sustainability and Innovation. There's a few other things about water he's done in the past. I'll let him speak to those. With that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Dave.
Fantastic. Thanks, Jake. Really appreciate the invitation to speak with you. As I was mentioning to Lori when we came on, this is my Arizona Forward week, so I'll be talking with the Water Strategy Issues Committee today, and then we're hosting the new cohort of the Arizona Forward Emerging Sustainability Leaders. We'll be over here at ASU tomorrow, and very proud Dana Peters, one of our own ASU folks in the Global Futures Laboratory, is in the new cohort. And also shout out to my colleague Lauren Bataska, who's with us today, who was in last year's cohort for the sustainability leaders. So, you know, really supportive of that program. Try to encourage all of our people to nominate their colleagues, and just really think it's a fantastic program to support folks on their journey in sustainability. And I also mentioned as we were joining, I just returned from Seattle over the last 3 days, where we had the first inaugural meeting of the National Sustainability Society. And so this is a new professional association that's been launched and had their inaugural conference. And I'll send over to the team from Arizona Forward some links in case you're interested in learning more about the Sustainability Society. And next year's conference is already being planned. That'll be held in Chicago. So there were about 400 folks there at the Sustainability Society meeting, great professional networking and really good content. I also want to thank a number of members of my team who are joining us today, and give them a warning that I might call on them. If there's a point that they're better suited to address or elaborate on, I might call on you to elaborate. So keep your ears open, and mention also that I am speaking to you from the Global Futures Laboratory headquarters at ASU, the Walton Center for Planetary Health. And I heard a couple of folks from Architecton who were joining, who designed our building. So thanks to those folks for the amazing work they did with this LEED Platinum V4, I think, was our final certification building. So been in this building for a couple of years, and it's just been amazing. So thanks to everyone for joining. And I also would love for, I'm going to have a slide deck and present, but I'd love for you to ask questions or ask for clarification or open up a dialogue around any one of the particular topics that I'm going to address. And so as I'm presenting, it'll be difficult for me to see all of the participants. So please feel free to just unmute yourself and, and say, hey, I have a question, or I'd love to learn more about this, or we'd love to partner with you on this particular part of the project. So feel free to jump in wherever you see that opportunity. So I'm going to share my screen and let me know when you can see those slides. Jake, I can see you. Can I get a thumbs up when you can see the slide? Looks good. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to go through the deck, and then again, please jump in and ask for questions. So first of all, I want to say that I'm pleased to be here on behalf of a large team, and so I'm representing a group of really fantastic scholars, including faculty, staff, graduate students, undergraduate students, and importantly, a broad network of partners across the state. So happy to share some of the work that we've been doing with AWII, as I'll use the acronym just for ease. So just briefly, our vision and mission are shown here. We're focused on water security for a thriving Arizona. And how are we attempting to achieve that vision or work toward that vision? We're trying to drive this thriving water future. And as a university-based initiative with partners throughout the state across the different public, private, and non-governmental sectors, we want to do that through discovery, through innovation and action. And for the benefit of all Arizona, and importantly, for the benefit of all Arizonans. So those are our guiding lights. Those are the aspects of the initiative that we return to on a regular basis. I wanted to just quickly highlight our leadership team. Many of you may have worked with folks shown here in the past and have current active collaborations and projects. One of the reasons I want to show this is because I want you to know that we encourage you to reach out to members of the leadership team for opportunities for collaboration and for partnership. So along with myself serving as the principal investigator and leading the team, the group you see here, including Jay Famlietti with the School of Sustainability. He leads, is also the science director for the initiative. And then I'm going to talk about a number of the programs that comprise the initiative and describe the work of each of these individuals as we go, including Sarah Porter, director of our Kyle Center for Water Policy, Amber Woodich in the School of Human Evolution and Social Change, Enrique Vivoni in the School of Sustainable Engineering and the Built Environment, Paul Westerhoff also in engineering, Susan Craig, who's with us today, who's the new director now of the Impact Water Arizona program. Congratulations, Susan, on a recent promotion. This is the first public opportunity I've had to mention Susan's promotion. So cheers to you and congratulations. Claire Lauer from the School of Applied Professional Sciences, and Faith Kearns, who's our Director of Research Communications. And I'll put in the chat in a little bit the link to the Arizona Water Innovation Initiative website, and in particular our blog and newsletter where you can sign up for updates. And Faith does an amazing job. She is a science communications writer, science communications specialist and science writer. She also has a PhD in environmental science and policy from Berkeley and does really fantastic deep dive, sort of longer form investigative work around water issues for AWII. And then Savannah Berrigan, who leads our operations team. And so the statewide water priorities are what really guide the work that we're doing. We're trying to support the state of Arizona, but also the extended network of private, public, and NGO partners who are advancing work in support of these priorities. And as we know, and as Governor Hobbs has reminded us, we've not put these challenges in our rearview mirror. The multi-decadal mega drought that has persisted since the turn of this millennium, where we have seen 22, 23-year period that's among the driest 2 decades in the last 1,200 years. We're also seeing the impacts of climate change on our regional climate. And I'll also put in a plug here for the National Climate Assessment. In the end of 2023, we released the 5th National Climate Assessment, and that's available. We can put a link in the chat for the NCA. The Southwest region, there are excellent resources available to you all that provide guidance on incorporation of the best available climate science into decision making. And Governor Hobbs is reminding us that, water for millennia, from the time of our original indigenous inhabitants through to today, this is a consistent and persistent challenge that we must always be focused on, striving to do more through public-private partnerships, through conservation, through the development of new technologies, and doing this with a commitment to strengthening protection. So Governor Hobbs and her team have been incredibly forward-leaning in the water space. They see an important priority, and we work very closely with the governor's office on this program. And in particular, we work closely with our colleague Patrick Adams, who serves as the water policy advisor to the governor in the Arizona Governor's Office of Resiliency. Patrick has been an excellent partner with us, helping to translate the priorities from the governor and from the agencies at the state to help us inform projects that can be responsive to those critical priorities, including innovation in technology, drought responses, improvements to our planning, and that these solutions can help ensure that Arizona continues to lead the way on water. So what are those priorities? And I'll throw these up, and then I'll ask for any comments. So if people want to elaborate on or provide additional thoughts. So as in our dialogue and discussion with the governor's office and with others around the state, we have identified these 5 critical priorities for the state of Arizona to continue to grow our economy while protecting our future water resources. We've focused on that sustainable economic development, water smart, water positive economic development, implementing a sustainable management framework for the Colorado River. And our partners and members of this committee with the Central Arizona Project, with Arizona Department of Water Resources, with our municipalities, those entities, those people are actively focused on creating the next generation of this sustainable framework for the Colorado River, especially under the conditions of shortage that have been declared by the Bureau of Reclamation, as we move toward a new framework in light of the renegotiation around the operating guidelines for Lake Powell and Lake Mead, and the consensus agreement among the states, the 7 western states, and the nation of Mexico that share in the resources, along with our tribal partners and the associated stakeholders. We're working to empower rural Arizonans to protect groundwater and to ensure thriving communities across rural Arizona. We're working to support organizations to address groundwater over allocation and other challenges in our statewide active management areas. And finally, we're focused on ensuring a clean drinking water supply for all Arizonans. So focusing on that critical issue of water security and water equity. So maybe I'll pause for just a moment. Reactions, thoughts to those critical statewide water priorities. Are there things that you see, you want to reinforce? You want to say, yes, these are critical priorities? Or other areas where you say, we should be doing more or focusing on different areas? Lori, I'll call on you to throw something out if I don't hear others jump in.
Well, I can do that because one of the things that first priority, growing the economy while protecting our future water resources, I know there's a lot of discussion about that, particularly as it relates to both energy and water. So how do you see that flushing out? Are you going to set parameters or tell me a little more about that one?
I mean, it's a good question. I think right now what we are focusing on is supporting efforts through research and development that lead to greater water use efficiencies, right? We need to be more efficient across every sector, right? Municipal, industrial, agricultural, every sector needs to be more efficient to produce whatever, public good, whether it's growing our winter vegetables or producing semiconductor chips or providing water to households. We need to be driving water efficiency to do more and produce more with less water in every sector. So water use efficiency, I think, is a broad-based consensus priority in every sector. And so, for example, supporting the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality, the city of Phoenix and their partners in the development of the advanced water purification facility and the development of recycling and reuse to just make sure we're as efficient as we can be with our municipal effluent, right? So that's one sector. Working with agriculturalists on both technological, agricultural, both producers, irrigation district managers and others on supporting efficiencies in the agricultural sector, working with partners like Intel and TSMC to support them on water use efficiencies in their manufacturing processes, but also in recycling and reuse of the industrial water. So I think recycling and reuse, water use efficiencies across all sector are really important for that economic growth and development priority. And then again, others, Amy, go ahead.
Thank you, Dave. I really appreciate this presentation. I thoroughly support these priorities. Thank you for explaining them. And thank you, Lori, for bringing up the first priority I see. I also have a question about that one. And it came up earlier at a Southwest Adaptation Forum I attended earlier this year. But some of the tribal leaders were expressing concern about growing the economy. They were sort of suggesting not everybody wants to possibly grow the economy. And I'm just wondering how we respond to that.
Yeah, it's a really great question. And I think one of the priorities that we have, and I'll mention this in a moment too, is to be a convener, a neutral broker. The university offers a particular opportunity to try to build a space for collaboration and dialogue around these issues that respects diverse viewpoints, that invites diverse viewpoints, and that creates a safe space for those kinds of conversations, because the university is not a regulator, right? We're not a private sector, entity that has, profit motive and shareholder concerns, et cetera. We don't have those types of constraints. And so we can offer that sort of neutral forum. To that issue in particular, in working with our tribal partners, we've recently brought onto our team a woman named Cora So. Cora works for the Kyle Center for Water Policy as a senior tribal water policy fellow. Cora comes to us previously from having worked with Navajo Nation, and she is leading our tribal engagement efforts for the initiative, and working also with Jacob Moore here at the university, who's vice president in our Office of Community and Government Engagement and the tribal liaison for the university. So, the tribal communities are critical partners and offer really important leadership in the water space, especially over the last decade or so, as many communities, whether it's been Gila River Indian community and the leadership that Governor Lewis has provided, or the Colorado River Indian tribes, or, there are, as you all know, there's 23 tribes, federally recognized tribes in Arizona, and each tribe has its own perspective, its own interests, its own water portfolio. So, we not even to paint tribal perspectives with one brush. There are really diverse perspectives within the tribal communities. But I think that's part of what the university has been asked to do, is to provide a forum where these different perspectives can come together. Thanks, Amy, for the question.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Susanna, go ahead.
Oh, I also want to commend these priorities. These are really great. It's nice to see so much energy being put towards all of these things. My main question is, all of these are very human-centric priorities, which makes sense. We're all human. But does nature layer in anywhere in here outside of, like you talked about, like renewing groundwater resources, but at the end of the day, does nature have any rights to water resources and layered in these goals for Arizona?
Yeah, I mean, it's an excellent question, and environmental flows is a really important, but that's just one example of a critical issue related to nature-based or environmental priorities. The short answer, of course, is yes. I think as a state, we have a long way to go to build up a framework that recognizes environmental flows as the so-called beneficial use of water, a legally protected and legally entitled right to water. And I think that some of our colleagues at the University of Arizona have been working on advancing frameworks to try to have both policy changes and managerial changes to improve environmental in-stream flows and other environmental water rights. We certainly support those efforts and plug into those where we can. Many of the other issues that we're trying to advance, environmental benefits are ancillary to those things or come along with those things. But I will say it's not the central focus of what we're doing, but I absolutely agree with that as a priority. And it's one where we think probably we need to be in more of a supporting role probably in that priority rather than leading from this particular program.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Susanna. And then is it Alana or Elena?
Alana, you're right, Dave. Thank you. Again, Alana with Fortescue. This kind of picks up from Lori's earlier point, and then you mentioned, your role in wanting to have a kind of be more of a host, a forum where, all of these stakeholders are coming together and everybody, I think these goals are great, but you also have many stakeholders that have their own priorities. And I was very interested in to what extent the business community is being included or involved here, especially our economic development leaders at GPEC, Sandra, of course, the chambers, and at the cities, because they're all focused on landing locates, right? And I was at a Arizona Chamber of Commerce policy forum up in Flagstaff, and they're saying like ACA alone has 400 mega projects, right? And those are, where are they located? Is there power? Is there water available? Some of these are very semiconductor centric, and they use a lot of power, they use a lot of water. So I just want to kind of bring to the focus, like, is everybody talking with each other? Is everybody walking in the same direction? Is everybody kind of working together here? Because if business community is continuing to bring all these mega projects and locating them, power cannot necessarily we're starting to hear issues on power and the ability for certain power companies to be able to get to them to even give them power in a very timely way. But now there's also the water issue and water concerns. And so to what degree all of this is going to impact overarching economic development priorities that those stakeholders have. Just really curious to see if people are talking to each other and everybody is in alignment with where we are all headed. Where this
it's a great question, Alana, and I would say to answer the first part of your question, yes, absolutely, everyone is in dialogue. We've been working very closely with folks like GPEC, with Chris Camacho and team, and I will commend Chris and his team. Actually, going back about 3-4 years ago, Chris started reaching out more consistently and saying, hey, in these siting evaluations and location decisions, they were getting more and more questions about infrastructure for water, for power, and the business community was now going to GPEC and ACA and others with detailed, 4 or 5 page sets of questions about nuanced groundwater code policies, et cetera, that, previously the siting decisions, the questions had come in about transportation infrastructure, schools, other things. And, over the last decade that has shifted, and GPEC, ACA, and others in the economic development and business community have become extraordinarily sophisticated in their understanding of these issues and their ability to now engage in informed dialogue and conversation about these decisions. The second part of your question, is everyone in consensus? Is there a statewide consensus on priorities for economic development? I would say not completely. So there's still diversity of perspectives in terms of what types of businesses that we should be attracting to the state. And, within that economic development perspective, there's a diversity of opinions. I think what we are trying to do is to ensure that those perspectives and the people making those decisions have the best available information, the best available science, policy analysis, to be able to provide an informed and evidence-based dialogue about those. I mean, this is at the end of the day, this is a broad policy discussion that requires diverse perspectives. One of those perspectives is a science-based perspective that helps to understand in the simplest terms, how much water is available, how much water do people need, where is that water coming from, right? And what are the potential gaps and what are the possible solutions to close those gaps? Same for energy. So yes, everyone is in dialogue. And in fact, there, as you all know, you can have a dozen water panels a week in Arizona. And so there's lots of dialogue. I think the consensus part is still building. Great questions. I'm going to move along. We're already about halfway through our total time here, and probably only gotten through the first 3 slides of a long deck, but I'm going to provide this deck to Jake and Lori and team, and then they can send it out to all the attendees. So you can have details and you can follow up later, because I won't be able to get through everything. So I'd rather have the dialogue than just to address you through the slides. But let me get through a few, and I'll just show you with those priorities from sort of discussions that we've had with the governor's office and others. We identified strategic goals for the initiative. I've just sort of elaborated some of those, trying to build consensus on water stewardship. Each one of these priorities is led by one of our teams. We have 5 teams plus some cross-cutting initiatives. So building consensus on water stewardship led by the Kyle Center. We see a need to revolutionize the way that we measure, model, and predict water. And so we have a team that is working on that priority. Again, I mentioned efficiency and water quality. My water quality colleagues, every time I speak, they're saying, what about water quality? Focus on water quality. Make sure you don't forget about water quality. Catalyzing understanding, engagement, capacity, led by our Impact Water Arizona team, and then advancing water security, led by a team called Arizona Water for All. So we took the statewide priorities, we translated those into strategic priorities, and then developed 5 interrelated teams led by the folks I showed you earlier to advance those. So I'll skip this slide, which just says that, right? We created teams led by the each of those leaders. And I'm going to go through just quick highlights for each of those teams and what they're working on. So the Kyle Center, many of you are familiar with Sarah Porter, widely recognized as one of the state's leaders on water policy from the academic perspective. Her team is working on research, analysis, and supporting collaboration and dialogue. And I have 3 highlights just from the last quarter, because the initiative has been operational for almost 2 years, a little under 2 years. Just in the last quarter, the Kyle Center has launched a multi-part series related to augmentation. What are the issues? What are the questions? What are the challenges? and they're beginning to incorporate this into the Arizona Water Blueprint. If you haven't looked up the Kyle Center's Water Blueprint, it's a great repository of tools, explainers, primers, storyboards that help to help a broad audience to understand the critical issues and potential solutions. They've been hosting webinars focus on Water Blueprint tools, including on water demand, releasing a new water use intensity storyboard and an interactive map, and a new Arizona groundwater dashboard. And as I mentioned, and this is a photo here in the center, that's Cora So, our new senior policy fellow in tribal water policy. Cora has been working with tribal leaders around the state, and she is preparing and will be publishing soon the Water Rights Settlement Guidebook to help people understand the recent water rights settlements and the implications of those settlements, which are absolutely critical to the state's future. Enrique Vivoni and team are leading our efforts to create an integrated Arizona Water Observatory and a series of decision support systems, harnessing the power of data, dashboards, and visualizations, creating partnerships with Salt River Project, Central Arizona Project, private sector partners like Planet and Hydrosat to create these new technologies, and also importantly, training the next generation of the workforce. What has this team been working on? We are anticipating soon the release of our first version of the Arizona Water Observatory. We've been working with a vast array of researchers, developing new tools and launching those tools. We've been leveraging relationships with Salt River Project and CAP. We have joint research going on with both of those organizations, as well as with Planet, and a new project funded through one of the conservation grants from the Water Infrastructure Finance Authority, jointly with the Sweetie Center for Sustainable Food Systems here at ASU. And again, cultivating the next generation seminar series for students, professional networking. We'll get to you in the chat. We're hosting coming up with Salt River Project jointly, an event focused on water resilience. And then a little bit later, we'll be having the ASU Flow event, which is with SRP and with Arizona Hydrological Society, which celebrates the new water year and is a networking event for professionals. The Global Center for Water Technology, this group is led by Paul Westerhoff and is focused on our engineering research and development priorities. They're facilitating a wide array of convenings to help identify consensus priorities for water technology, demonstrating those priorities, and then looking to commercialize through intellectual property, patents, and spin-off companies. And the Global Center for Water Technology has launched a number of demonstration test beds at ASU's Macro Technology Works facility. And what has the Global Center for Water Technology been up to over the last quarter? Hosting events, for example, with the National NAWI, I know the Water Institute, the NAWI on brackish water concentrate, opportunity for water use efficiency and reuse. Paul sits on the committee with ADEQ to write the regulations and the planning on the direct potable reuse or the advanced water purification process, being awarded a number of different grants for specific technical and engineering related research projects. And importantly, we've developed a series of projects in collaboration with the governor's office with specific agencies, including Department of Environmental Quality and Department of Water Resources, to be responsive to immediate needs of our state agencies who are sometimes constrained by budget, by personnel, and we see the Water Initiative as a sort of rapid technical assistance effort to support state agencies. And we at AWII are also partners to the Southwest Sustainability Innovation Engine, which is a new National Science Foundation funded project at ASU. Now, Impact Water Arizona, a number of the team members are here on the call. They're focused on engaging, empowering, and activating throughout our communities. And one thing that I want to highlight is Susan and team have been developing a series of rural groundwater resilience workshops and a rural groundwater resilience network with the partners that you see listed there, including our friends at the University of Arizona, with the Babbitt Center for Land and Water Policy, and with a host of nonprofit organizations and state agencies. So if Susan is available, I'll invite you to come on, Susan, just for a minute or two and just talk about the upcoming rural groundwater resilience workshops and let folks know how they can learn more.
Sure. Thanks, Dave. Happy to. One of the things that a couple of things that make this effort unique and worthwhile, in my opinion, is one, we're doing a call for interest. The call for interest is out. It closes on the 16th. So if you know of rural communities that might be interested in a workshop, do let them know. So we have that. This is very locally driven. So we plan on taking those applications that we get of interest, looking at them, and really working with the local community to design what these workshops actually look like. And so we have, to do that, as Dave mentioned, we've got this fantastic network that we've created to develop, or we're calling it the Resource Strategy Group, but we want to look at all of the applications and come up with a strategy to support all of the communities. So we're picking 3 communities to do a workshop in, but really trying to support with our partners all of the communities that apply to us. And then this idea of sustained engagement. We don't want to go into the communities, do a deep dive with them and leave them. We actually have funding to support them to the next step. So whether it's a project that we are able to help them get off the ground, or in the case of our work in Sulphur Springs and the Wilcox and Douglas basins, one of our main partners, the Babbitt Center for Land and Water Policy, they were able to give seed funding for a coordinator for their new Sulphur Springs Water Alliance, which of course is huge in helping the community move forward with the strategies that came out of the workshop.
Fantastic. Thank you, Susan, and cheers to Susan and her team and partners on developing these workshops. And as Susan mentioned, here's the timeline for working with additional communities. One of the things that I am most proud of the work that Susan and team is doing is that these are workshops that are community-led, community-focused, and the efforts are empowering and building capacity in those communities. To be able to provide vision for their communities to address critical challenges. Now, the university is providing support, technical assistance, bringing expertise from subject matters in, for example, groundwater monitoring, in climate change impacts, and bringing that knowledge to the table to help those communities then to make decisions that will ultimately lead, we believe, to both the protection of the groundwater resources and also the continued opportunity to thrive in those communities. And so the final program that I'll mention is our water equity focused initiative called Arizona Water for All. It's focused on empowerment, bringing more people into the decision-making processes, especially people who have been from communities that have been historically overburdened and historically underserved, and then not only to engage those communities, but also to help to develop proven water security solutions, fit to purpose technologies, distributed water treatment and delivery technologies, and to then measure and monitor that water insecurity in our communities to be able to have a diagnostic tool to identify hotspots. So among the most recent highlights for this team, they held a bilingual community forum in Nogales. They're developing and launching the Youth Water Leadership Institute, along with partners like the Rural Community Assistance Corporation and EDF. There are now more than 15 new orgs just have joined, and I don't know the number of total orgs off the top of my head, but we have dozens of organizations in the Arizona Water for All network. They're working on mapping and identifying opportunities for social engineering, for social and engineering, not social engineering, but social infrastructure and engineered infrastructure for off-water grid implementation in communities around the state, starting in Florence as one test site, and then completing again interviews, surveys, and engagement with vulnerable communities, including, for example, migrant farm workers and others. So this team led by Amber Woodich is, out in our communities, in our fields, again, not only engaging with those communities, but helping to try to bring them into decision-making settings, represent their perspectives, and help address their water insecurity challenges. And then I'll just, close the description of our initiative with some cross-cutting programs, and then just prime you all for a few questions that we have with our remaining time. Within our science integration, Jay Familietti, who's working to try to cut across all of these programs, collaborating with a variety of partners in each of those programs, as well as our stakeholders, on some integrated modeling and analysis to inform, particularly in that Colorado River sustainable management framework for the Colorado River Basin. So, providing new tools and new data, including modeling and assessment of the river basin to smaller scales than are currently available, down to 1 kilometer resolution, evaluating a whole host of different available tools and bringing those to the table, working with the agencies, including State Land Department, to help build capacity in that agency for sustainable water management on state lands. And Jay's team has been working on these integrative projects. One of the collaborative convenings that we've done through this effort, we were asked by the White House through their President's Council on Advisors on Science and Technology to host a workshop on America's groundwater security. We hosted that in July. Maybe the White House back in DC didn't understand that July 22nd was maybe not the best date to have an in-person workshop at Arizona State University, but when the White House calls and asks you to host a workshop, you say yes. And so we did so. I think it was 113 or 114 that day, but it was a fantastic learning experience for the PCAST, the White House, and really our community came together to help educate the Executive Office of the President on what type of initiatives may be useful from a federal government perspective, and importantly, what types of initiatives from a federal government perspective would not be welcome in the state. And that was an important message for the state to hear. And so what I think I'll do, we're also doing some things around user experience and research communications, but I'll stop here. And I will also, as I said earlier, I'll send this slide deck around, and I can point you, we've been adding some links in the chat. And if someone, Marlene, could you throw in the link to the blog so that people can learn more about all of these programs and also sign up to be part of our newsletter? That'd be really great. Okay, I'm going to stop there and open it up for questions. And as a good professor, I'll call on people if no one wants to jump in. I know that was a big sort of tour through a lot of activity. I think the more important thing that we want to leave you with is an invitation to connect, an invitation to collaborate, and to be part of this effort. Because our sort of theory of change, we are a university. We are not, we don't make policy. We don't, make economic development decisions. We don't, the university, it, works with folks like you, who are in those decision arenas, whether you're in private, public, nonprofit sector, and we help to support, provide, whether it's social science, engineering, policy, law, natural science, we try to provide best available information and to build capacity for those folks who are actually in those decision-making arenas. So Jake, I'll turn it over to you. We're gonna ask any questions or facilitate.
Yeah, I'd love to ask a question. This is so great. There's so much here. My mind is spinning.
Sorry, I know.
I could ask a lot of questions. When you started off with the statewide water priorities, I'm like, wow, this is huge. It doesn't get bigger. So thank you for your work in trying to wrangle this huge amount of work together into strategic priorities, I think it looks like you're going to be shaping up to get some good work done. And already have. In fact, one of the things that caught my eye, and something we often think about at a, we're a municipal water provider, so we provide water, wastewater, and recycled water services. And we often think about conservation in a lot of different ways in society. But one thing that we miss out on inverse block rates, where people are conserving, and they're, you're charging more per 1,000 gallons as they use more water. And so it's really a strong conservation signal. But the other side of that is actually affordability, and what place do we have that break point? And we have a really innovative piece where if people use less than the average person, they actually get a rebate back of the cost of the water. And we work with Wildfire and the Corporation Commission on a way to have basically low income subsidy, so we pay a little, ratepayers pay a little, and we have this really, I think, great program, but we're always looking for more. And I'm wondering about the Arizona Water for All. Is it doing anything like inside existing utilities? I get rural communities and others and places that don't actually have water, but sometimes access to water is an economic barrier. And I know there's been lots of places doing work on that. I'm curious if your group is focusing on that aspect of water availability.
Yeah, so two comments. The first sort of predates the AWII effort. So in my advisory capacity, I serve as the chair for the City of Phoenix's Water and Wastewater Advisory Committee. And so work with Water Service Director, previously Director Sorensen and Director Hayes, to advise the agency, the city manager's office, and mayor and council on a wide range of issues, including rates as our primary mandate and focus. So really proud of what we did there. I'm just going to drop a link in the chat to the Water Equity Initiative that we developed through the Water Advisory Committee with City of Phoenix. Some of that work was instrumental as the pandemic was hitting us in this period. We had completed our report and recommendations in June of 2020, so it was right in the first phases of the pandemic, and understanding the need to maintain water equity and address that when water and sanitation was such a critical health, public health issue. So really proud of what we've done through that effort with City of Phoenix. But to answer your question, yes, the Arizona Water for All network, while I illustrated the issues by focusing on rural communities and tribal communities, Amber's team has been equally focused on addressing water equity issues within municipal urban environments. In fact, some of Amber's work has been instrumental in raising awareness about water equity concerns in municipalities where it's not often the top of mind when people talk about water equity in terms of both access to water services, but also affordability in those areas. So short answer is yes, Amber's team is working on that, and we can follow up with some more opportunities for you to plug in and engage.
Oh, it's so great. So great. Yeah, and the work with Phoenix very much impressed me. I felt like it was one of a kind and the first thing out there. Thanks. I look forward to chatting more with Amber. Dave's going to call on people. So anyone?
And Marlene put a link to the Arizona Water for All team that's a blog post about the team, and so that can provide you some additional information, follow up, and reach out to that team to engage. And there's so many more things that are going on. So Amy, yeah, go ahead.
I was actually going to ask about another thing I saw going on a couple days ago. An article came out about graduate student researchers addressing decentralized water systems with the NSF grant. And I'm wondering if that's related to what Jake and you were just discussing.
Yeah, actually, and since Marlene is on top of it, Marlene, if you could put a link to that blog post. Yeah, we were fortunate to have 3 of our graduate students receive this prestigious graduate research fellowship from the National Science Foundation. And that what's really, I think, most exciting, you know, I present the program as these five pillars, but obviously there's a lot of work that's happening across those pillars. And some of the most exciting work is that highly interdisciplinary work. And those 3 graduate students that are featured come from, you know, the Fulton Schools of Engineering, and then also come from the anthropology program within our School of Human Evolution and Social Change. And in fact, that's one of our most vibrant collaborations, are engineers and anthropologists working really closely together on this idea of how do you create social infrastructure to address water insecurity, and how do you pair social infrastructure with physical and engineered infrastructure. So it's just a recognition of the complex and integrated nature of people and their, you know, and their physical environment, and addressing that concern requires integrating knowledge and action from each of those different perspectives. And then, of course, along with policy and law, and we didn't really talk about the work we're doing in like inspiring behavior change for individuals, and you know, so all kinds of really exciting work. I should also say we're always recruiting. If you know folks who are looking for graduate degrees, who would, you know, look to get a master's degree coming back to ASU, we have opportunities to work with the Initiative for Master's Degrees or for advanced, you know, for PhDs. So we're always open to recruiting folks to work with us at ASU as well. If you've ever been said, hey, when's a perfect time to go back to get a master's degree at ASU, including an opportunity where there might be graduate research assistantships available funded through AWII, where I can go back to ASU and get a graduate master's degree, you know, with tuition fully supported, and to join, you know, one of these amazing teams and have a, you know, a whole set of activities to just plug right into. This is that time.
That's so great. Tuition included. It's awesome.
And stipend, right? So it's, you know, graduate research assistantships are fully funding tuition and fees and provide, you know, an annual stipend. So yeah, absolutely great opportunities that we have available.
That's so great. Well, I want to thank you very much for your presentation. Looking forward to the slide deck and following up with Amber and several of these links. I'm going to take a moment and turn it over to Lori so she can tell us what else is going on with our organization.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Dave. And our emerging leaders look forward to seeing you at ASU tomorrow. That will be, it's our first session of the class. So, and in conjunction with that, we're hosting a mixer tomorrow at 5 o'clock, which is for all of our members. You get to meet the class, and then also we'll have someone there speaking about Prop 479, which is very important to our organization. And the last thing is we have a luncheon next week on Thursday in Tucson, focused on mining and the clean energy economy. So there's still time to sign up for both of our events. And I think that's all I have for now. So thanks to everyone for attending. Thank you, Jake. And when is our next meeting, Jake?
Sorry, I was not fully equipped with that information.
It's in October. Yep, our next meeting. Oh no, I'm sorry. It's in November. Our next meeting is November 14th.
Okay. Well, I'm sure we'll see you all before that, but thank you and have a good rest of your day.
Thank you all. Take care.
Thanks.